And Mr. Dennis, welcome back. And again, in the interest of time, if it's possible, please to try to condense it as short as possible.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. Thank you.
Certainly will. And once again, thank you very much. I want to dedicate this. I have a slide, hopefully it shows, to Avriana Dale, a New York little girl who we all think died needlessly because of the failure of ionization smoke alarms. I'm here representing the NEOFPA, as you mentioned, Northeastern Ohio Fire Prevention Associations. It's 200 gentlemen that are fire officials that are dedicated to training and education for other fire officials, and they want to support scientifically based code standards. And they are very concerned that the data needed is not being, about ionization smoke alarms, is not being captured. They actually went out and had two buildings that were houses that were going to be torn down over the last couple of years period, ran their own data testing, set up smoldering test, and their test actually replicated a lot of the information you found that I shared this morning. Significantly delayed response of ionization smoke alarms and not triggering. And the Euclid test done in January and February, there's over 20 minutes time difference. In the Mayfield Village test, surprisingly, in the 3 separate tests, and if you look aggregately, in only one test did an ionization alarm even trigger after an hour. Smoke conditions were so thick, people and toxic, the families would have died in there. So what NIST has given in their statement from the Boston City Council, that they've known not to fail, they've known to fail in smoldering fires and completely not sound at all, was validated by this group's testing. The reason that I'm bringing this up is not only are injuries and deaths not being captured in any of the data, but the significantly delayed performance of ionization alarms are not being captured to the Consumer Product Safety Commission. Another independent fire department, Barre, Vermont, upon the death of 4 children and a mother, happened to be relatives of the fire chief of Barre, Vermont. They all died. None of the ionization alarms, all hardwired, went off. When they went in the day after the fire, tested them, they all worked. Now, in 2008, I think it's important to bring up a case. It was called Hackett versus First Alert. This case was appealed all the way to the Second Circuit Court in the Court of Appeals, and the judge that resided over that ruled in favor of the plaintiffs and ruled that, quote, that the smoke detector's failure was a legal cause of deaths of William and Christine Hackett. The reason I'm bringing this up, at this meeting, there were 355 complaints filed. They had to be deposed. Is there a way for the CPS to obtain these real-world complaints? Do the manufacturers have to self-report? This is valuable information that is not being captured. We know from NFIR's reporting that more than 60% of people that purchased a smoke alarm yet died in a residential fire, that smoke alarm was working. It was found to be an effective working smoke alarm, but yet 62% of the people died. This is a statistic that's annually, it changes maybe by 1%, 2%, but the majority of people that die in house fires, their smoke detectors work if they had them. I mean, there are significant people that did not have them, but why are so many people dying with working smoke alarms? We certainly believe it's the technology in that it's not being captured, the ionization technology. Lastly, one of the biggest problems is the NFIR's reporting system. Let me see, I have this slide. I think it's important to go over this one. If you look at this reporting, there's nothing that mentions the types of fire or the type of technology involved. As a matter of fact, when you get into L4, it talks about detector operation. If it operated, you go to block L5. If it failed to operate, which we would think an ionization, this is the problem, you go to L6. And the reasons that the person has to check is power failure, improper installation, defective, battery missing, discharged, or undetermined. So there is nothing there that captures anything about technology. So as I stated earlier this morning, we have anywhere between 400 to 1,000 people dying needlessly because of ionization detector failure, and we're not capturing it in our data system at any level. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dennis. And you focused on the one slide in the beginning that I got stuck on in your presentation, which was the Abriana Dale story and the fact that there was no fire damage, yet she still passed away from the smoke. And so that was certainly very eye-opening.